Hello everyone, my name is Haydox and welcome to a Smash Brothers Wii U Direct Impressions video. So I just got back from watching the Direct and boy was that amazing. That was probably the best 30 minutes I've ever had in my life for the longest time. So today I think we're going to discuss it a little bit. So the first thing I want to talk about is 8-player Smash, which is I think it was the first thing that they talked about. So it's kind of interesting now that we have 8-player Smash. So up to 8 players can now play each other basically locally. So that's kind of cool. You have the 4 GameCube adapters and then the 4 controllers that you can set up for the Wii U. So that should be pretty fun. Now I'm not really sure how they're going to use that, if they wanted to do it competitively or if they wanted to do it in any other tournaments. So it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. I don't really have an opinion on that because it didn't really excite me that much, but that is still pretty fun. Being able to play with more than 4 players, because I know personally for my friends, whenever I have like 5 people over and then we always have to take turns on and off, so maybe that'll be kind of cool playing with 5 people. So then they announced bigger stages like the Great Cave Offense and then the dual plane battles like the DK one, where you can launch back and forth between both planes, and let me tell you, that is very, very cool. The Great Cave Offensive looks amazing in HD. Just all the things that you can do with it. Obviously it's going to be banned for competitive play, but still, that'll be a lot of fun just to go through with all of your friends and everything. And the dual plane thing is actually kind of neat how they're implementing that. I would have never expected them to do that. So, like, they introduced a lot of new stages, as you can see, like the DK1 and the bigger stage, such as the Great Cave Offensive, as I've noted before. So they mentioned a Wrecking Crew one, which seemed pretty cool, and then the Palutena one, which we've already seen. The Woohoo Island looked very awesome, and all of that kind of jazz. So then they announced Miiverse Stages, which I don't know how they're going to implement. They're probably going to pick like some that are from the community, because I don't think they just put random ones in fear of bad Miiverse pictures. And if so, they're going to need a lot of moderation from it. And there is also that interesting thing about Palutena's guidance that you can have within the game, which is kind of cool. What you can do on Palutena's temple stage is you can down taunt with Pit, and then you can sort of see how he interacts with Palutena and all that jazz. So the other thing that they revealed was Metal Face, which looked very, very cool. I mean, I'm excited to have this boss because in Xenoblade Chronicles, he's a big antagonist. And he was a very, very cool character. His insults were very nice. And Ridley was confirmed as a boss character. Unfortunately, some people who wanted him as a fighter did not get that. But the cool thing is he can fight alongside of you if you actually defeat him, as opposed to Mega Man's final boss, which was the Yellow Devil, which if you defeat him, he just explodes. So I think that Ridley is going to be a lot better as opposed to the Yellow Devil. And the other thing they had was new types of battles. Well, they're not necessarily new types of battles. I believe they've had them before, like the stamina and the coin and the special matches. But those actually seem pretty nice. I'm very excited to have them back. They should create a lot of excitement for those who like stamina battles. Those who prefer like the more traditional Marvel vs. Capcom sort of thing, and those who like the coin battles are back as well, which is kind of cool. And the item frequency also, I'm just going to tie that in with everything. That is very, very needed. The Smash 3DS version does not have an item frequency, so a lot of people complained about that, and I think it's for the better that they have it like this. Another big piece that they mentioned was the music in this game, and they said they have tons of music. There's tons of customization. You can customize stages. What you can do is you can set the frequency of music to each single stage. There's like tons and tons of music. Now, what I've heard from like the Nintendo Land pieces, from the Pokemon X and Y themes, from Saria's song from the Xenoblade Chronicles medley, is that all of this music will be amazing. And you guys don't know how much of a fan of music that I am. This made me shout for joy, because music in a game is very, very important to me. I really like hearing about all the music in each game. The Smash Brothers 3DS music was amazing, but it always kept me wanting more music. But in this version of the game, I'm going to get so much music, and I think everybody will too. And I think it's going to be very enjoyable. And they also said they have CDs of the actual like songs, well 36 of those songs, that are coming out if you buy both versions by January 15th. 2015, I believe. So if you buy both, you're gonna be able to get an album of it from Club Nintendo, which is very, very cool. The other thing they introduced was challenges, which is nothing new since they were on the 3DS version, so I'm just going to gloss over that. And then they had classic mode, and that's kind of different from the 3DS version, because in this one, there is 2-player matches first of all, and it also advances to how well you did in each challenge mode. Classic mode. So that's kind of cool how you have rivals and all that. And at the end, if you complete classic mode, what you have, instead of like, you know, a picture that you used to have at the end of Smash Bros. 3DS classic mode, you actually have full-length clear movies, which is a lot better in my opinion. The other completely new mode they announced was Smash Tour, which is kind of like Mario Party board game in which you collect sort of power-ups for your Mii and also players, and you can fight off against other players if you run into them, so that's kind of interesting. I did not understand from what the trailer, the direct technically said about it, but what I can tell is that it should be something along the lines of Smash Run with customizable characters and such, so that should be a lot of fun. I'm going to probably enjoy playing that with a lot of my friends whenever they come over, so it seems like a good sort of party game. The other thing they announced back is Target Blast, which you can play with 2 characters, and you can also play 2 characters with all these mini games like Trophy Rush and Home Run Contest. Now, I wasn't really excited for the 2-player customization for any other mode except for Home Run Contest, because that mode is one of my favorite modes, and I've always wanted to play it with a friend. I don't know if you can do that in Brawl. I think you could, but don't quote me on that. But I've always wanted to do that in the 3DS version whenever I've been playing, and you cannot do that, so it's very nice that you're going to be able to do that in this version. The other thing is that there's event battles back now, and now there's so many modes to this game, it's unbelievable. Moving on, now we have these things called special orders. So you get rewards that are tickets, technically. Let me explain. There's an Amazon leak before with a bunch of stuff crossed out. It had Crazy Order and Master Order. So what Master Order is, you have tickets, and you can get each ticket, and then you can play these matches and get rewards. And so this doesn't cost you anything. This is like a free thing, but the rewards are kind of low. But then there's Crazy Orders, which you must fight Crazy Hand at the end to actually get all of your rewards. But the thing is, you have to pay a fee, which is your in-game currency technically. So you pay that in-game currency, and then you get to go on to the Crazy Orders. So you pick a ticket from all of these selected battles, and then you pick one, and you're able to, I guess, you're able to do that battle, get a reward if you win, and at the end you have to fight Crazy Hand to see whether or not you're going to win. So that is actually a lot of fun. It seems like a lot of fun to me. I know I'll probably be enjoying doing that. I mean, Smash Run and all of those modes were kind of cool, but these kind of modes really interest me. The other one they announced was a change to Master Core, because they're adding a new form to him, which is called Master Fortress. So after the end of all of his 3 forms, Master Edge, Master Giant, and all that jazz, what he does is he transforms into like a fortress that you have to navigate through, presumably to get the Master Core and defeat it. So that is kind of cool. I'm excited to see how the Master Fortress is going to turn out. And now what you can do with the 3DS compatibility, moving on to this, is what you can do is you can bring your customizable Miis and moves and characters and sort of people to the Wii U from that version. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see how that will shape how people play. The other interesting thing was this thing called Photo Studio. In Photo Studio, you can set up trophies and sort of arrangements, so you can see all of these trophies. You can set them up on backgrounds, and you can sort of make funny sort of pictures with all these trophies that you have. Now I imagine these trophies are going to get very inappropriate, so I don't know how Nintendo is going to monitor that again. But they're going to probably need a lot of moderation for this game on Miiverse, especially with like all the pictures that you can make. I already can think of thousands of combinations that can make each picture very inappropriate. But I'm excited to tinker around with those trophies. I mean, usually in Smash Bros. Game they were just a bragging right, but in this one they seem to be a little bit more useful. So now you have this thing called Masterpieces, which I believe they had in Brawl. So you can play demos of classic games. And after you play this demo, if you like the game, you can buy it on the eShop. So this is actually a pretty good marketing thing for Nintendo. What they can do is you can say that you have all of these masterpieces, so if you wanted to play them, well, now's your chance. So you play a demo, if you like it, you buy it off the eShop. So in turn, Nintendo will get more money, which is very nice for Nintendo. The other thing is the thing about amiibos, which is not very new information. It's just that you can bring them to friends and all that jazz. And then if you visit friends, it makes them smarter, but it's really not all that interesting. It's nothing new that you haven't heard before if you've been following this game. The other thing that they announced was the internet connection, and they said if your Wi-Fi is bad, you must pick up a Wii Lan adapter, which would be pretty essential for playing this game. So I know personally I have ordered one, and I don't know if anybody else has, but I think it's a very good opportunity to buy it now. So the other thing, I'm just glossing over notifications in Team Smash Online, is tournaments. So with tournaments now, it's much like Mario Kart 8, which is amazing because I can now play Game Explain on tournaments, and you won't have to enter every single friend code. You can just play with people online like a tournament. So it's going to be a lot easier for people who just want to play with random people all the time online. This is going to be very, very cool. They're doing tourneys and tournaments. The tournaments is sort of like brackets more, and the tourneys, I guess, are a bit different. They're kind of, I think, the number scores is how they're doing it. Like in Mario Kart 8, the person who scores first on every match wins, or the person with the most points wins. It depends on how many matches you win. So it'll be interesting to see that. But they said something interesting, is that it's not going to be available at launch, which I don't mind at all. I mean, there's going to be plenty of other stuff to do in that game, trust me. And the other thing that they said, I've glossed over this, but I think I should go back to it, is Team Smash Battling. So what you're going to be able to do is bring your friend along and play online, which is very, very neat, and I'm excited to do that with my friends. The other thing they announced is the Wii U GamePad functionality in this game. So the other thing they announced was how the Wii U GamePad is going to interact with this game. So what the first thing that they announced it does is you can paint on pictures, so you can like draw things on it, which I imagine you're gonna again need a lot of moderation on Miiverse if you want to share that. The other thing is they announced voice chat for when you're in the lobby, so you can actually hear your friends talking in game to sort of preserve that stable connection. So that's actually very, very nice. I'm very excited to actually see that come back, because I know voice chat is kind of fun in Mario Kart 8 when you're playing with your friends. The other very, very cool thing is how the Wii U GamePad interacts with the stage builder of this game. So in this game, instead of actually placing certain blocks as you would in Brawl, what you can do with the Wii U GamePad is you can take the stylus and sort of draw around it and see, like, say for instance, you know, I'm trying to get a comparison here. But you know how if you draw a line and then you draw a shape, what the game will do is it will fill in that shape, and there will be a platform in it. So it's very interesting how that will be. And I'm excited to see all those creations. And the other thing is they said you can share these stages, and you can also share the replays, Miis, and all these photos. So honestly, I'm very excited for this game and all the features in it. Sharing stages should be pretty cool for people who want to have stages that could be legal. So what the Smash competitive community could do is they could create stages that are perfectly legal, and then just have them shared to everyone so everybody has access to it. So if you have these stages that are legal, and maybe that are in the books that are going to be legal, I don't know if this is possible, but if they do that and somebody user creates it, and if it's legal and they use it for tournaments, then maybe that will sort of fix the problem with stage hazards. So for the last thing, that was sort of, I'm tying up the last bit of the Direct, but they just had this Bowser Jr. movie, and you can see all the joint battle movies, like all the Direct movies, you can see all that stuff in the game, and the huge announcement that I saw the stream chat just blowing up with was the MewTwo announcement. He is going to be DLC. Well, technically, it's going to be free DLC. But what you can do is if you buy both versions by spring 2015, you will get Mewtwo in both games, which is honestly pretty amazing, because Mewtwo is one of my favorite Pokemon, and I'm very happy to have him back. But I think after this was just sort of my impressions of it, sort of the descriptions of the Direct if you missed it. But I don't know if I'll delve into more detail with each subject, my own opinions, maybe have somebody else on to talk about it. But I think that will do it for my discussion today. That was a pretty long discussion, and thank you so much for watching, and until next time, have a wonderful day and take care.